And now, it's time for another Dice Tower review with Tom Vasel.
Hey folks, I'm Tom Vasel.
I'm Melody.
And today we're taking a look at
The Pursuit of Happiness.
Now, this is a game, which is a Euro game, which I was actually very interested in trying out because the theme I found very fascinating. It's not about collecting goods and shipping them over to whatever Mediterranean country you want to. In this game, you're living life. You are going through and having a family or getting a job or not getting a job and going out being a hippie or whatever you want to do in this game. It really offers you choices and you're trying to get long-term happiness. Yep. Now, we know that long-term happiness does not come from possessions or for material things. It really doesn't, although in this game it can. But actually this game kind of does a good job at showing you many ways to get long-term happiness. But anyway, I thought the theme was interesting, but is the game good? Let's look. This game is to get the most long-term happiness. Of course, this is going to be determined by many different things. Long-term happiness in the game is indicated by these stars here. So you're going to want to get as much long-term happiness as you can from various things. You also have a short-term happiness track down here. This determines who goes first each round, and also if you can progress too far to the right or too far to the left, it can actually gain or lose you long-term happiness, but it also can affect doing projects. For each extra step you're on short-term happiness, you can pay fewer resources, and for each one you're down, you pay more resources. You also have a stress track over here, and this stress track is very interesting because if you get too stressed, you are dead and out of the game. And that's going to happen to everybody at some point, usually around the same point. But as you take stress, you just move over here, and when you fall off, you lose. You can rest and relax and get stress back. The problem is you can only ever go back to the farthest in whatever color you are. So if your stress ever gets into yellow, you're going to stay in yellow. Unless, of course, you get a heart, although those are very difficult. That's basically healthy living. You can move back to another color and then try to stay in there as stress-free as you possibly can. Each player starts with a childhood trait, which is going to give you a special ability, a minor special ability, and also your starting resources. There's different kinds of resources. You have intelligence and communication with others and interactiveness, and you're going to get tokens of each of those types. Players are then going to start each round of the game, and they're going to be doing so on this track here. You'll all start as teenagers, and then move into 4 rounds of adult, and then in each old age era, you can see at the beginning, you're going to have a certain amount of stress that's added to you, 3, 6, and 9. Well, the 9 is going to kill you. Probably the 6 will kill you too, unless you've done some healthy living. Each turn, players are going to have a certain amount of actions that they can do. They can have more actions if they're unstressed and fewer actions if they are stressed. And they're going to be placing most of their actions in these areas here. As a teenager, these 3 spots are filled up, but once you become an adult, those open, and overtime shuts down once you reach old age. Now, when you place a token on these, they're pretty simple. You go to study, you get 3 intelligence tokens. You go to play, you get 3 creativity tokens. You go to interact, you get 3 influence tokens. You go to take a project, you get a project card. You go here to spend, you get some sort of item or activity card. You go here to a temporary job, it just gives you 3 coins. You go here to get a job, and you can get a job card, develop a relationship, or you can get 2 more of these tokens that you can use, but that's going to cause you stress, and so overtime won't be used very often. You can go to the same spot more than once, but if you do so, each consecutive time that you take that one, you are going to take 1 point of stress. One of the actions you can do is to take an activity. I might decide to join an environmental group, or do some healthy eating, or learn to dance, or do a Robot Wars competition. Now, the Robot Wars competition is a one-time thing. I look here on this card, I see what resources I can pay. Maybe I have 2 intelligence and 4 creativity, so I pay that, and I immediately score the reward, which is 4 long-term happiness. I discard the card and go on. Other projects go in front of you. You have 3 slots that you can have in front of you, which are used up by projects, jobs, and relationships. And so I can start a project. So let's say I start healthy eating here. Well, at first you start eating salad, so I lose one temporary happiness. And you'll put the card in front of you with a black cube on it. And then on a future, you can put these action tokens on it to move down. I eat more salad, lose another temporary happiness, but now I get some knowledge. Then more salad, that gives me 2 more knowledge. Then a balanced diet, which gives me 3 long-term happiness, and a heart, which helps me on the stress one. On the same instance over here, you look at the environmental group, and on this one here, I start out as a tree hugger, which requires me to pay 1 influence, and I get a short-term happiness. But then I become a protester, a petitioner, and then a spokesperson to get 2, 5, and 8 long-term happiness. When you finish a project, when you get to the 4th level, you will basically be able to get rid of that project. It no longer takes up one of your slots. And there's all sorts of projects in here. We have model making, an online guild. We have a political party, which is essentially a group project. Whoever starts it, other people can join in and get different parts of it. Other group projects include a music band or a role-playing group. You'd be a TV presenter, start a book club, a political manifesto. You want to write a play, start a study group, develop a secret recipe. There's all sorts of different projects that can be started. Then there's stuff, all right? This is where you can spend money. You can buy an item like this boat here. When you buy the boat, you decide what kind of boat you want to buy. A rowing boat, a cabin cruiser, or a yacht. I buy the rowing boat, I pay 2 coins and get 2 long-term happiness. I buy the yacht, I pay 8 coins, I get 4 long-term happiness, and I also get 3 influence tokens. However, when you buy the more expensive version of items, you have an upkeep that you have to pay every turn. Every turn I need to pay 3 coins if I buy the cabin cruiser, and I get a long-term happiness. If I can't do it, I lose the card, I lose a stress, and a temporary happiness. So you gotta be careful when you buy these expensive things. Other things you can just simply, they're one-time shots. Like I might go watch a popular band, it costs me 3 coins, but then I get 1 long-term happiness and I get 4 creativity. I might decide to go to the beach. I might decide to go on a resort holiday, which costs an extra one of my action tokens and 5 coins, but gives me 5 long-term happiness. You can get jobs. Now, a job is another thing that gives you upkeep. You'll notice that, for example, here, if I take this level 1 arch job, it's going to pay me 6 coins every round. It costs me 4 creativity to get this job, and then at the beginning of every round I have to put down a token on it and 2 creativity, and it gives me 6. So it's going to provide you with a steady income of coins, but you also will have to use up an extra action every turn. And you can upgrade to better jobs. You can start with these better jobs if you have the resources for them, or you can upgrade at the bottom of a card. For example, of this level 1 arts card, it shows me how to promote to a level 2 card. And once you get to a level 3, you can even retire. But you can see the level 2 card is giving more money, but also has more upkeep. Then there's relationships. You can find relationship cards that are down here at the bottom of the board. Each relationship card is different. It shows both sexes on the side. So we have Catherine on one side and Cameron on this side. Here we have Bobby and, of course, Bob. So you can, have a relationship with whichever one you want. You start by dating them. Dating them usually requires no upkeep. You can see here that Carrie requires no upkeep, and when you date him, you get creativity and you get influence. But if you want to start a relationship with him and move that cube down, then you're going to have to pay one of these every turn. You're going to have to put on a time into this relationship, but it will give you creativity, influence, and temporary happiness. You also have requirements for relationships. So here, to get into this relationship, you're going to need to have at least 5 knowledge. Carrie wants to talk to smart people, apparently. Then you can raise a family, which gives you long-term happiness, and give you long-term happiness every turn. But again, there's also a priority for that. Carrie is looking for someone who's smart. Bob is looking for someone who has money. And Dan here is looking for someone who has at least 4 activities. And that's basically the game. There's another action you can take here, rest here, which is where you put tokens to move your stress down, but remember you can't go into a new color. Only hearts do that. And once everyone has done placing all their actions, then we go to the next round, we move up, and eventually the stress from old age will kill everyone. Once everyone is dead, you will look at some cards at the beginning of the game, some life goals that were put out, and like for example, whoever entered old age with the least amount of stress gets 4 permanent happiness, and whoever has the most items gets 1 permanent happiness per item that they've had. Also, every 5 things, every 5 knowledge, or every 5 influence, or 5 money that you turn in at the end of the game for 1 happiness, long-term happiness. Basically, you're passing stuff on to your children, and whoever has the most long-term happiness is the winner. All right, what was your first impressions? I remember you telling me I thought it was very interesting. What was the first thing you thought when we went through the game?
This is a complicated version of life.
Yeah, it's like the Euro game version of the game of life. But people like to play life. It's not that good of a game, but it's like, ooh, look, I got a job, I'm a doctor. Ooh, look, I had 3 kids. Ooh, twins. And people like that idea. Well, this lets you do the same thing, except here, instead of spinning a spinner, it's a cool spinner in life, but instead of spinning a spinner and seeing what happens, here you can decide what you're going to do. You really can.
Like what job you want, and like you can actually see which one works well for you. And like life, where you get a job and then you lose it in like 3 turns.
Yeah.
And then one person keeps getting raises for 1 job, and then he wins because just the over amount of money he got because of 1 job.
So you're talking about in life. That's lucky. Here, that luck is gone. Here, you really do have a lot of options, and I thought some of the things were very interesting. I like the thematic flavor. The whole game is brimming with theme. If you marry someone and get a job, you're spending probably 3 or 4 of your action tokens every round. That's life. You marry and have a job, you got to spend actions on that. Now, will they give you the happiness and the money that you need? Yes. I'm still not convinced having a job is always worth it. And I'll tell you this, owning a hot tub the whole game is not that great. But I thought it was interesting, the activities and the things. What did you like best about it?
I just like how everything like worked together, including like in the beginning you get like your character trait. That was fun, and you can like use it to help yourself later on. I just liked how everything worked together.
And I know that you like worker placement games.
Yes.
And this is a worker placement game, and you have a lot of things that you can put out, although as the game goes by, it feels like you have less, because you might be spending 1 every turn. You can really do good in an activity. I'm going to write a book and become a world-famous author. And you can do that, but if you do that, it may take you a while before you get married. Or maybe you'll never get married at all. You could have 2 wives in this game if you would, although it doesn't seem very useful. There's 3 different slots that you have, and if you take a job and you have a relationship, then you can only have 1 activity, which again makes sense thematically.
Or then you're just going overboard and tired and stressful. Which I found another thing like a little bit annoying in this game was that I don't think it was the game's fault, but because we just got unlucky with the cards. But it was really hard for me to go up in the stress level.
No, I think the game actually makes it that way on purpose, because you just get stressed when you do things. There's only a few cards. I worked really hard in one game to be was it a runner, or was I eating salad? I forgot what I was doing. But whatever I was doing, I did it. Yes, I was healthy, but I did that at the cost of so many other things, and ended up dying at the same time everybody else did, because of the stress of eating all the lettuce. The theme is really strong. The only part where the theme's not super strong is the jobs. Like, instead of saying you're a scientist or whatever, it's like level 1 arch job, level 2 arch job. I wish it had just said like painter or factory worker or whatever. But that's a minor thing. I like the art in the game. The board's really easy. The rules are missing a few important things. But for the most part, they're very easy to understand. Like, for example, they don't tell you that if you have temporary unhappiness, you have to pay extra resources to do a project. That's a good thing to have in rules, but I know they're releasing an updated version of the rules. But the components are good. For me, overall, this is just a solid Euro game. It's good. But for me, the theme brings it just a little bit higher than most of the Euro games of this type, because I like it's just so different and unique. And each time I play, I'm like, what life will I live out today? What are your final thoughts?
I thought it was a really good game. I liked the components and everything. It just looked really fun. And I saw it come out, and then when I found it was a worker placement game, I was like, I think I'm really going to like this game. So, thumbs up for me.
That is The Pursuit of Happiness. Get some temporary happiness today by playing it. Dice Tower Judgment, approved!
Thanks so much for watching the Dice Tower videos. Find more great videos and reviews, as well as our top-rated audio podcast at Dicetower.com. You can also find other great shows at Dicetowernetwork.com. I'm Eric Summerer, and you've been watching The Dice Tower. The Dice Tower is sponsored by Cool Stuff Inc., where you can find great games for great prices. Cool stuff in stock. Check them out at coolstuffinc.com.
Shut the door!